Welcome to Marissa Baker, who is here to talk about divorce happens, but son happens too. Marissa is a happy-go-lucky ray of freaking sunshine who calls herself the CEO of divorce. She's also the host of the Son Happens podcast. She's a certified life coach, co-founder of Sober Socials, Southwest Florida, and an influencer with a passion for encouraging others through social media, sprinkled with dark humor and bad dance moves. And I can testify to these bad dance moves because I have seen them.
Oh, gosh.
Before all of this, though, Marissa was 29 years old and going through her second divorce. That is right, 2 divorces before the age of 30. And you better believe that the media and the social media trolls have tried to shame her for that. But all of this led Marissa to where she is today, helping women find their joy after divorce. Now, Marissa, I think what you're doing is really brave. I honestly know how brutal people can be on social media. Putting yourself out there after divorce at a young age opens you up to so much ugliness, does it not?
It's so bad. And I've seen the comments you get too. So I know you're getting it just as much as I am, if not more.
It's interesting to me that being on social media and creating content to help people, right? I'm trying to help women. I think you connect with women as well. And your content is really all about telling people there's no shame in making life choices for yourself, right? And we all make mistakes. There's no shame in the fact that you made a mistake, that people got hurt from it. We're sorry that they got hurt, but we're just trying to put a positive message out there, and we are jumped on and attacked because for me, it's, why aren't you producing content for men? Well, because I've chosen to produce content for women. For you, it's because, oh my God, who are you to talk about marriages and divorce, right?
Oh, it's absolutely the audacity that I have to not only be someone who's had multiple divorces, but to talk about it proudly and not be some scared little puppy with my tail in between my legs, because apparently that's how I should be if I'm going to talk about divorce.
Right? There is such a shaming culture. Today, with you here, I really want to give women who are in the process of divorce hope. Everyone says to them, oh, it gets better, right? You just have to work through it, process your feelings. You'll eventually have a great new life, but it's really not as easy as that, is it?
No, I am going through grief right now with the loss of my father. And I will tell you, divorce is so much like grieving the loss of a person who's still alive. And I'm sure you've heard that saying before, but it's not as simple as being like, do these 4 things and you're going to feel better. And, so much of what I see in the divorce community, I feel like is almost that toxic positivity. Whereas my approach is, not only do you have to like acknowledge that it's bad, you have to like acknowledge, allow, and feel, and kind of let it be there and let it sting for 1, 2, 3 years before you're really like, oh, like I like who I am. I like who I've become. But yeah, I definitely wouldn't be like, oh, you're going to be better, because when you're in the darkness and you're in the hole, you're not like, oh, wow, I'm going to feel better. Like you're like, this sucks.
Right. It's not just about powering through, right? There is an element of powering through and like, getting yourself together and working your way through it, because you do have to move forward, especially if you have kids, you have a career and you still have to live and do those things. But it's not just about powering forward. It is about letting yourself feel the feels, go through these waves of emotions, grief, anger, all the things, guilt. Oh, how about when you start feeling better in the divorce process and then you feel guilty because you're feeling better? So, okay, let's take us back to deciding to divorce, because that is really, really hard. And I want to know, Marissa, how did you get past other people's opinions so that you could do what you wanted to do, which was to get divorced?
Yeah. Honestly, I probably still struggled with other people's opinions 2 years after the divorce. And so it was less about overcoming what other people thought about me and more about, what do I think and what do I want? And I would say I got separated from my husband in May of 2021 from my second ex-husband. And in March, I went silent, like full hermit mode, with the like deleted social media for the month. I wasn't texting. I wasn't going out. I had a prayer closet that I was going in every day, and I was just getting quiet. And my goal was just to sit in stillness and listen. What does my voice sound like? And what is my voice trying to tell me? Because can I change what other people are going to think of me? No, but I can get clarity on what it is that I actually want, and I'll deal with the rest later.
Oh my gosh, that is so awesome. How did you deal with the shame and the stigma that often accompanies divorce? For goodness sakes, you got that scarlet letter D twice. How did you deal with that?
I did. And I would even say I got the scarlet letter on a really large scale, because when I started talking about my divorce openly, news outlets like the Daily Mail were writing things like, life coach branded a joke after revealing she's been married and divorced twice before 30. And so not only did I have this internal shame that I was navigating every single day, but I had this external shame of people that were calling me names and writing whole news articles about me and how much of a joke that I was. And one example that I want to give you is when that article from the Daily Mail came out, I took the day off work and I went into my room and I kind of just curled up into a ball on the floor and I just cried. And I was so sad. And I remember having this feeling in my body, like shivers all over my body. It was kind of like goosebumps. And I remember thinking, I don't know what that feeling is, but I think I'm feeling shame right now and like rejection from the world. And so in that moment, number one, I just kind of observed what was happening in my body. And I'm getting the goosebumps. I have the lump in my throat. My chest is really tight. I feel really small. I'm making myself small. So number one, I just was like, I'm just going to observe and I'm just going to let it be there. And after I kind of sat literally in the fetal position for like 20 minutes, I remember thinking, okay, I know what they say about me, but what does God say about me? Number one. And then what do I say about me? Like, sure, they can call me a joke and they can shame me, but the only reason that hurts is because I'm not clear on what I think about me. And because there's a little part of me that also believes that I'm damaged because I've been through divorce. So yeah, I would, number one, allow yourself to feel it. And I would, number two, ask that question when it comes to the shame of what part of me is believing the lie that shame is trying to tell me.
I love that. Tell me about your journey to turn your two divorces into something wonderful. We've talked about you being a life coach, and I know that there is something that happened there for you.
Yeah, I kind of mentioned that internal shame a little bit. And I think my journey kind of started out as I'm going to make fun of myself before others get to. And then it kind of turned into, wait a minute, there are a lot of women out there who feel ashamed and who are getting shamed for being divorced. If I can make one woman feel less alone by putting my shame on blast, then I want to do that. And I just thought, this can't be all my life is. I can't just be the girl who was married and divorced twice before 30 and then my life is over. And so I thought, you know what? I might as well make something out of it. And I have. And I've created this really, really beautiful community of divorced women who feel empowered and less alone because I'm not afraid to put my shame out there.
I think the most common feeling that women who are getting divorced have is a feeling of isolation in the process, no matter how many people they know who've been through the process before, because we all know bunches of people have been divorced. They still feel isolated. One of the things that we've started doing with the Divorce Money Guide is publishing what I call real divorce stories. So people are sending in their stories about things that happened during the divorce process or during child support, etc. And I'm just sharing what their story is because I think it's so important for people to hear other stories like theirs so that they know that they're not alone.
Yeah.
Okay, so I know a lot of people ask you, how did you know when it was time to get divorced? It almost feels to me like they're asking for permission to get divorced themselves. What advice do you have for them?
I get asked that question all the time. How'd you know? When can I ask for it? When do I leave? And what I love to remind people of, you will never hear me tell someone that it's time for them to get divorced. Because you know what? I do not have that authority. And quite frankly, I do not want the authority. But women, and what they forget is that they have all the wisdom that they need inside of them already. And that's why it was so important to me before I decided to get divorced, to get still and listen. Because at the end of the day, we grew up in a culture that told women to play small. And so we forgot what our inner voice sounds like. And when we can get clear and listen to her, we have an intuition that tells us all we need to know. And the way I love to describe it, I saw a quote once, was your intuition whispers until it screams. All you have to do is listen. And if you don't listen, one day it's going to be screaming at you and you're going to be like, okay, I know what I got to do.
I think there's so much fear, though, surrounding breaking up a family, right? Most married women do have kids and they're thinking about divorce and they're thinking, I want to keep my family together for the sake of the kids. If there's any way to make this marriage work, I'm going to do everything I can. And I think that puts them in a really hard position and causes them to doubt that intuition even more.
Yeah, definitely. I recorded a podcast once on Sun Happens podcast with a girlfriend of mine who got divorced when her kids were very young. And she had a conversation with her daughter. Her daughter's an adult now. And her daughter said, Mom, I'd rather be from a broken home than in a broken home. And I love that so much because kids know when it's not working. Like they're not done. They also have an intuition. They have emotional intelligence. They know if you're just staying in something for the sake of just staying there rather than really kind of doing what is most happy and fulfilling for both people.
Okay, so what do you say when people say to you, what if I make a mistake and I regret my decision to get divorced?
Personal opinion, I don't believe that there are any wrong choices in the sense that the choice you make is the right choice. And regardless of if you stay or you leave, and I ask this question to women quite often, what if you could be happy either way? And the reason I say that is because you can be happy either way. You just decide. And so I think at the end of the day, a lot of people are scared they're going to regret it and they go on and they live a totally happy and fulfilled life. However, that does not mean the feeling of regret might not come up. And to that I say, you have all the tools you need to support yourself through the feeling of regret, should you need it. And I say that about any scary emotion and any scary feeling.
I have a close friend right now who is in the process of divorce, and she has 2 young children. And she spent 2 years in therapy trying to work through what she was going through that made her feel that she didn't want to be married to her husband anymore. He's a great dad. He's a great person. They get along really well, but her marriage was not working for her. And they separated in summer. And she is right now going through some feelings of regret. And what if this is the wrong choice? And what if breaking up my family is the wrong choice? And so I'm seeing firsthand that these feelings of regret are coming up. But ultimately, she spent 2 years in therapy trying to work through this, doing everything she could to make sure that it was the right decision. And now she's just got to trust her gut. That's my opinion, right? Again, personal opinion here, but I think she's just got to trust her gut with this one.
I totally agree. And like I said, I don't think that there's a wrong answer. I think everything happens for us. And regardless of if you do stay, I think you can be happy. And I think if you leave, you can also be happy. So at the end of the day, if she wants it, she can have it either way.
Right? So divorce happens and son happens too. And I think I hear the message that you're giving today, that it's really about making a choice and doing inner work to be happy with yourself first and foremost.
1000% about creating your own sunshine, even when things are really, really dark. And I also want to just kind of mention the duality of life, because it's both and. When I say divorce happens and sun happens too, I don't mean that like you have to be dark before you get happy. I mean, you can be so sad and so heartbroken and hopeful and excited at the same time. and it's totally fine. And so my point is how do we weave joy in throughout the darkness as we're navigating divorce? Because it's possible.
Well, every time I watch you on social media, I know that you are weaving joy in. Marissa, divorce coach, life coach, thank you so much for being here with us today. I have so enjoyed talking to you, hearing about your divorce experience, and I hope that what we've talked about today really helps some of the women who are listening or watching us.
Thank you so much for having me, and I hope so too. I love women that are going through divorce, for lack of better words, and I hope they feel better.
Thanks again.